See the stairs.
Yeah, they're in the wall. It's impossible to see them. You would have to go into one of those doors and up. That's how you get to the stairs. Essentially, just MPs and senators use that watch. So they make requests and they say, I want to know how many swimming pools there are in Ontario. And that's what they do. They're like, okay, let's do this. And they Google and they, actually they do a little more than Googling. I had someone ask me, in the age of Google, why do we need a library? Well, legitimate research is actually very hard to come by, especially on Google. Because, you might Google a word and get something like 100,000 hits. And, how do you know if that information is right or not? Well, that's why librarians and researchers do what they do. Because they know if information is legitimate or not. So, everyone, welcome to the Senate foyer. So this is where we're going to talk about monarchy. Because obviously, we are surrounded by the different portraits of the monarchs of Canada. So, let's talk about myths and misconceptions. Some people think, there's a rumor going around actually, that our head of state is the Prime Minister. I'm going to have to stamp that rumor out for you right now, because our head of state is Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Prime Minister, leader of our government, but she's our head of state. And this is how our constitutional monarchy works. Essentially, the Queen, who is our head of state, all her powers and privileges in Canada are given to her by the Parliament. They're given to her by us. She exercises those powers and privileges in the Senate on our behalf. So, obviously we have one person who represents us all. And the reason the Prime Minister can't do that is because we don't elect the Prime Minister technically. He's just the leader of the party who has the most seats. We don't all vote for him. Only his constituency people do. So our head of state, that's what she does. But obviously she's not here all the time. So she has a representative, who's the Dr. General. In fact, his full title is His Excellency the Right Honorable David Lloyd Johnston. And he's our resident head of state. He lives in Canada, and he comes into the Senate to exercise powers and privileges for Her Majesty when she's not here. That's myth number one, stamped out. Now you all know. And I'm a little parenthesis here. The Queen, she reigns over Canada. She does not rule. It seems like a little bit of a small difference, but it's actually a huge difference. Because when you say a monarch rules over a country, that means that they have authority. They have the authority to change laws and to essentially, be a head of state and just leader of government. But our Queen reigns over Canada. So she just, does what we tell her to do, sort of thing. It's different. Alright, out of all these portraits that you see right now, only 2 of them are original. Can anyone guess which 2? I know you can't go very...
Queen Victoria.
Which? Okay. Yeah, the one of Queen Elizabeth. Very good. And which other one? Yes. Queen Elizabeth, Queen Victoria, both originals. All the other portraits here are copies of British portraits that are in London. This portrait of Queen Victoria, I told you you'd be seeing her a lot. I warned you. Was given to us as a gift before Confederation in about the 1850s. Wow. A very old portrait. And it's a very lucky portrait, or very unlucky, depending on how you see it. Because this portrait has survived 4 separate fires. Every time people have run in, coordinated a squad team and taken out this portrait out of burning buildings. And it looks a little bit cramped, because the second time it was in a fire, someone had to cut it out of its frame, roll it up, and take it outside. So it's a very lucky portrait. We're very lucky to have it today. And of course, this portrait of Queen Elizabeth is the only, to date, the only portrait that's been created by a Canadian. So hopefully the next one will also be painted by Canadian. So here's where we get everyone to our 3rd mystery of Parliament. First one was through the House of Commons, 2nd, fire 1916, 3rd, sealing of the Senate. So on the ceiling, we have all the provinces and territories, of course, and we have all the names of Senate speakers. Senate speakers are a very important position in the order of precedence. And so, we have all their names up here, and you just saw all their portraits coming down this hall. Now, the Senate speaker So they're making provision for all future Senate speakers, just as long as there's someone. So all Senate speakers are truly represented on the ceiling. Now, what's very difficult for parliamentary guides to handle is that this word, it's misspelled. It's missing a U. It's the first thing that Francophone tourists always notice. They're like, but that word is misspelled. I know. I can't give you the reason though, because it's a mystery. There's a U missing, we don't know why, and it's permanent. So that is our third parliamentary mystery. It will always be like that, and we will never know why the U is missing. So everyone, any questions about the Senate? Yeah? In the Senate? Yes. The last time that Her Majesty sat in the House in the Senate was in 1975, and she read our speech from the throne. Yeah, well, just think about it, everyone. She has the same responsibilities in Great Britain, so that's a lot of responsibilities. But everyone, another myth and misconception, she's also the Queen of England. But her roles, Queen of Canada, Queen of England, are actually completely separate. So, she's the Queen of England, but for us, that's just a coincidence. Because here she's the Queen of Canada. Yes?
Could you remind us how many people are in the Senate and who gets to be in the Senate? Are they elected or are they appointed?
I will say, we'll play a game in the Senate. Okay. And I will learn that. Anyone else? Yes?
So in England she rules, right?
No, actually. She reigns. Yeah. I know, it's interesting. We don't think of the distinction, but she does. She reigns. She's the head of state, not the leader of our
Does she rule anywhere?
She used to, back in the day, about 500 years ago, when we didn't have a parliament, in the time of Charles I and II. All right, everyone, we're going to go into the Senate and talk about senators and governors general. I learned to take hard hits a long time ago. People saying things about the Senate that they don't even know about. Everyone come in.
Come on in there.
Yeah, you can just take a side. So everyone, while we're in the Senate, I'll just ask you to please not go over the bar. You can put your hands on it and stuff, just don't reach over and touch the desks. They're not your desks. It's like desks at school, you don't want someone going through your desk. All right, welcome to the Senate, everyone. And so this is one of the parts of Parliament that's probably one of the most mysterious to Canadians, because there are a lot of myths and misconceptions about the Senate. Probably because we don't see the Senate as much as we do the House of Commons, because the Senate is not televised. We just chalk that up to the fact that the Senate is a little more private than the House of Commons. You can come and watch up in the galleries, and you can read what's being said in the Senate, but it's not televised. So, myth and misconception number one. People say that the Senate is appointed, and that's not democratic because the Senate is appointed. Myth number one is, yes, senators are appointed. They're not elected like MPs. But I'd like to point out, there are a lot of people in our system who are appointed. For instance, the entire cabinet of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister himself is in fact appointed by the Governor General because his role is not in the Constitution. There are many, many different people. Auditor General, the Governor General. A lot of people who are appointed in our system. Essentially, senators are appointed by the Prime Minister, who is part of the elected government. So, it's not entirely undemocratic. If you're going to say that appointments are undemocratic, then you're going to have to change a lot about the entire government, our entire democracy, in fact. All right, second myth and misconception, senators make a lot of money. Actually, they make about $500,000 less than MPs. 50,000, sorry. 500,000 plus. Yeah, everyone's like, whoa! They make like nothing. No, 50,000 less than MPs. And yeah. All right, everyone. So we're going to play one last game. It's called Who Wants to Be a Senator? Everyone put one hand up. Everyone put one hand up. This maybe might not work because there are a lot of young people. If you're younger than 30, put your hand down. If you are older than 75, put down your hand. If you have $4,000 in your bank account right now, keep your hand up. And if you have $4,000 worth of land in the province in which you live, keep your hand up. So congratulations to those. Sir, Mr. Alex, you are eligible to be named to the Senate. Good job. Consider your life a success. So to be part of the Senate, you need to have those 5 criteria, Canadian citizen on top of that, and then you can be appointed to the Senate. So everyone, we're going to make our way to the Salon de la Francophonie. Follow me.